You can take a moment, and I want you kind of like, this scenario is like a study of how fast a virus will spread. Okay, so the keyword would be how fast the virus will spread and in the area. So is this an experiment or observational? What do you think? So let's see, let's check in. So a split between experiment and observational. Okay. If someone remember what the definition is, you can share that in the chat or unmute and share that with us. Observational and experiment, both you can. The question is this because it's how quick it's going? No, both study you can look at the situation and you can see how fast things are going. So it's not just experiment or observational. Right now the difference is observational. Just think about the word observational. What you do when you observe. What does it mean to be observational? Like, think about the word itself. If you observe, what do you do? An experiment, think about the word experiment. What you do when it is an experiment. So think about that a little bit to see if that changed your answer. Okay, so let's see. I have pretty close between experiment and observational. Observational, again, think about observational mean if you're observing something, are you going to do anything about it? Or you just kind of sit there, look at something that's happening and record the information or like make notes. Think about observation, like I'm observing someone, like teachers. I have admin come to my class. Those are the observations, right? When they come to my class, they just sit in the class. They just watch how I teach, or some of like counselor come in or deans come in or other teacher come in to observe you as a student. They're not doing anything about that, right? They just in the classroom looking at you and record the information. They look at my teaching and record information. They're not doing anything to interfere. An experiment, think about like when you use science, right? Science project. When you do an experiment, what you do, you control some part of your project, right? You do something with them like, okay, I decide this to be this way and this object is to be something else. So one is a control group, you have some control group when you do an experiment. So you do something about that, right? So let's see if that changed the answer. So let's see. Okay. Seems like more of you buy in. So a lot of you chose observational, and it is observational. It is observational because in this case, you just study how fast a virus, we not actually give someone a virus, right? Think about right now, every day you look in the news, they tell you about COVID cases, right? What is the positive, what is the rate? How many people get sick, new cases? So they just record the information. They're not giving out and, spread the virus. So this one is observational. Mm-hmm. So the next question, if we don't look at the next question, what I want you to think about is, are you do something about it? Or no, I'm just record the information. Okay, so let's do the next one. A study of the effect on the human digestive system of potato chips made with a fat substitute. So think about this. Are you doing something to get the result? Or are you just kind of like, I'm just looking at it. I don't do anything. So think about that when you make the choice. Is this experiment or observational? Okay, good. You seem good so far. For those who responded, they're correct. That's good. I have a few of you have not responded yet. Please respond so I know where you are. If you just join, there's a link for you to join Paired Act. There's only 8 of you responded. What happened to the rest of you? frequency table. Okay, so for frequency table, what you do is, anyone remember the first step to create a frequency table? It's been a while, and it's okay if you like, I don't remember. Let's review from the beginning. It's fine. No problem with that. There's no shame. It's been a long time. Okay, so let me know. All right, so step number 1. What do I do to construct a frequency table? Anyone remember? No, not quite. Okay, step number 1, we want to find the class width. For the class width, what I want to do with the class width is that I want to know, because for each row, when you split it up into 4 classes, we want to know what is the lowest number, what is the higher number, right? So think about the class. We have the lower limit and the upper limit. We want to figure out those 2 numbers, all right? We're not just gonna kind of randomly choose a number. There is a method for you to do it, and some may not remember, but that's okay. We're gonna review. To find the class width, step number 1, you will take the maximum, which is the highest number, take away the lowest number, and divide by the number of classes. So in here, I'm gonna look for the highest values, which is 37. So if you want to, I'm going to advise you to get a piece of paper and jot this down. On the final exam, I'm not going to remind you the steps, okay? So right now when we do practice, if you have any question, please ask them now and see me for the next couple of days. Yes, it is. You're right. You are right. Okay, 40. It is 40. Thank you. All right, so I'm taking 40. And I'm going to minus the minimum. And I do make mistakes. So if you notice my mistakes, just like miss when you make a mistake, don't let me go like depth into the problem and then it took a longer time for us to fix it. But yes, I do make mistakes. So have confidence in your work. Thank you. Okay, so 40, I'm going to minus the minimum. So in this case, the minimum is 10. Can you check my work? Okay. I'm going to divide number of classes is given to you, is tell you there are 4 classes. I'm going to divide by 4. Okay. So when I divide, I'm going to write over here because I ran out of space. So 30 divided by 4, that would give me 30 divided by 4, 7.5, which I don't want decimal at my class width because it will be harder for me to find, to add to get to the next number. So what should I round it to? If I have a 7.5, do I round up or do I round down? Anyone? What do you think? I would round up to, yes, thank you, Alfonso, Elena. Okay, so I'm gonna round this to 8. And this is the class width. So I spent the time for the past like a minute or so to figure out this number. That means I'm gonna go back and use that number. So think about in math, if you spend time to find something, to calculate something, you're gonna use it. If not, if you don't need it, then we shouldn't waste time to find something, right? So I found the class width, which is the number that I'm gonna use later. Okay, so when I do my classes, I'm gonna start with my lowest, which is 10. To get to my upper limit, which is the next number, what do I do? What should be that number from 10 to what? So for my first class, it will go from 10 to, anyone remember? 18, thank you. And how do I get 18? I'm taking 10 plus 8 right here. This is the value that I just solved for, right? That's the class width. So there's a reason why I spend the time to figure that one out. So I got 8. So I start from the lower with 10 plus 8, give me 18. All right, I'm going to do the next number is going to be, the next class is going to be one more than the last number. So it's 18. So now my next number is going to be 19. To get to the next number, I'm going to add 8. So this would be 27. Is it? 19 plus 8, 27? Yes. Yes. 28, the next number that I would use is 28 plus 8, so that would be 36. Then 37 plus 8, give me 45. Okay, so question for me so far. Look at the number and see if that makes sense. So like, okay, I remember this now. If you have no clue on every single step that I just did, I'm going to ask if you can see me today and tomorrow so we can have that one-on-one. It will be much better, I promise you. Okay. Step number 1, I find the class width. Step number 2, I fill in the classes using the class width. Okay. Step 3 is going to find the tally, which the tally is not too difficult. However, it just kind of take a while for us to do it. But any question for me so far before I move on to step 3? All right then, so the tally is that I'm just going to count how many entries is fallen into each class. So the first number is 10. There's 110. So it's belong to the first class. Then I have 20. It's belong to the second class. So I make 1 tick mark. 15 is the first class. 12 is also the first class. 19 now is the second class. 28, if I'm looking 28, it belongs to the third one, so I make a tick mark there. 30, third class. 34, third. 37, now it's go to the fourth class. 40, same thing, fourth class. 21, second. 21 again. 34, 12, there's 12 again. 15, 20, and 25. So the tally, I'm just counting. I'm not recording the number. I'm just like, there's one number belong to this class, and I make 1 mark. Okay. Questions for the third step. All right, step number 4 is the simplest one because I'm just counting from the tallies. In this case, I have 5, 6. This one is also 6. This is 4, and this is 2. So step 4 is the most simple one. My favorite one, because like if I'm counting them correctly, then my frequency is that number. So it's not too bad. Then I will get to step 5, and this is the one that a lot of you make a mistake. And the mistake that I noticed for most of you is that the very first number that you chose the wrong number. So this is step 5. Think about cumulative frequency is like cumulative GPA. It's all the GPA from your freshman year up until now, right? It's a total. Cumulative is a total. So I'm going to start with, this one is 6. That is your first semester at Northtown. That is the score, right? You don't have anything previous to add, and we're going to start with that one. To get to the next one, this would be 12 because now I'm adding the next number. 12 plus 4 give me 16. 16 plus 2 give me 18. So this is cumulative frequency, and this is what I want you to know. This is what you should know, like be able to construct the frequency table. Questions for me. If you need to take a picture, do so. If you have any questions, any steps, let me know. Are we okay? Frequency histogram is, who remember what is a frequency histogram? What does that look like when we talk about frequency histogram? Anyone remember? Yes, thank you, Alfonso. It is a bar graph where they like right next to each other, no space in between. Yes, it is a graph. It is a bar graph. So I'll make the axis. The first column is the x-axis. The second column is the y-axis. So I make sure that I label each of my column. So this is the winds. On this side is the frequency. Okay. Now the first one is 0 to 5. And then I have 6 to 10, 11 to 15, 16 to 20. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4. So I will split it up into 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So I'm just going to label 0 to 5, then 6 to 10, 11 to 15, 16 to 20. So I just label my x-axis using the title from my first column. Then on the next one is the frequency. This one, the lowest from 3, the highest is 10. So what I can do, I can increase by 2, 6, 8, and 10. I can do that. Okay. If you want to increase by 1, it's okay. You can do from 1 through 10, and you can increase by 3. It's up to you, whichever works for you. And step number 1, I'm looking at my first one is from 0 to 5. The frequency is 10. So this is my first bar. Keep in mind, there's no space in between. The next one is 6 through 10, which is 5. So that's between 4 and 6. So I make another bar graph. Not another bar graph, I'm sorry. Just make another bar. I use different color just so that it's easy for me to see. But do you have to? No. But it'll be nice. And it's easier for me to see, then that would be okay. But you don't have to. You can choose the same color. The next one is, what is that? 7, so that's between 6 and 8. There you go. And then the last one, which add 3. So that's between 2 and 4. So this is my last bar. No space in between. A lot of you lose point from your last summative because you have everything correct, but you give me like space in between, which I have to take off some point. So no space in between. So you want to jot that down. You want to take a picture. You want to write out some notes to remind yourself on the day of the exam, then do so. Do that. Create a cheat sheet. That's what I'm asking you to do pretty much. Have it in front of you. Okay. Questions for me with the frequency histogram. So line plot is the X, dot plot, we use a dot. The line we can think as number line. So in here, I'm looking for my lowest number and my highest number. So that's how I'm going to start my number line. So I'm going to check my work, okay? The highest number is 30. the lowest one is 17, I think, right? So what I would do is that I'm going to start from 17 all the way to 30. So 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, and 30. Okay? So I'm going to start from the lowest to the highest. Again, I'm recording this lesson, so if you kind of like, you can follow or you have to step out, make sure that you watch the video. I'm going to send you the link. I will also attach the link to the notes so that way you have it. Go to the semester exam folder and then go to notes, then you should see it. Okay, so for the first one is 21. Because I'm asking for the line plots, I'm going to use the X. Then I will, for 30, there's another X. 25, there's another one. You guys create this for your project, so hopefully you remember 17, 20, 21, 22, 17 again, 18, 20, 22, and 25. And that is it. That is what I have to use for the line plot. If I'm asking for dot plot, then what I would do, I would turn this into a dot. It's pretty much the same thing, but instead of the X, I'm using the dot for the dot plot. Okay. Questions? All right, so the next line is for you to practice. There's a list. You want to practice on that one. Okay. Stems and leaf plot. So this is the one that you also do a project on. So stem and leaf plot is when you have two columns. Whoops. Okay. The first column is the stem. The second one is the leaf. The stem is in the tens or hundreds, depending on the list that's given to you. The leaf is in the ones values. So in here, if you look at my data list, what I'm seeing is that I start with the 17 is in the tens, and I have in the 20s, and then I have something in the 30. So what I would do is that I'm going to label, it's going to go from the 10s, the 20, and the 30. I'm looking at the second values, right? I either have 1, 2, or 3. I don't have anything else. So if you look at the first number, it's either 1, 2, or 3. So that's how I determine my first column. Okay. Now for the second columns, look in here. Let's see if I have 21. This one is in the 20. Some start in with the 2. So I already have the 2, so all I need to do is just write out the 1. So I'm only write the ones values, not the tens, because the tens is already labeled in the stem column. Then I can do 30, it's in the 30, so I put 0.
For the 2, would it be 0 because you have 20 right there first?
I have 21 first, right? Oh, yeah, you can reorganize that, but right now I'm just going through the list that I have. So yes, I don't care if you don't put them in order, it's okay. Yes, but you're right, there's a 20, so there should be a 0 right there as well. Okay, so I can get to 25, so I'm going to use a 5. Then I get to 17, so there's a 7. There's a 20, so I put 0. 21, there's another 1. 22, there's a 2. 17, there's another 7. 18, there's an 8. 20, there's another 0. 22. So basically what I do is that I'm just using the last number for my second column, 31, 35. So For this class, I'm not going to ask you to go back and rearrange them, but if you take statistics in college, or you may run into some problems, they may ask you to rearrange them in order. But for now, it's okay if you remember how to construct it, but that's fine. So this is the stems and leaf plot questions. Okay. All right, so population standard deviation. Step number 1. I label the steps for you. So step number 1, you're going to find the average or the mean. To find the average, I'm adding all the score together. 20 plus 30 plus 25 plus 40. Then I will divide. N is how many numbers listed there. In this case, N is 4. So I will divide by 4. Okay. The problem I'm seeing from some of you is that you keep adding, and then you use a calculator and you just divide. Instead of press enter and find the total on the top first, and then divide by 4. So your average was not accurate for some of you. So let's find the total. I'm taking 20 plus 30. This one is 30, not 50. Okay. Plus 25 plus 40. That is 115 divided by 4. So I have 28.75. So that is my average. That's step number 1. $28.75. And that is the number that I'm going to use to get to step 2. Yes, n minus 1 is only for sample. If I'm asking for population standard deviation, then we just divide by n. We don't have to minus 1. Okay. All right, for step number 2, what I would do is that I'm taking this number right here, 20. Whatever the number that I have in the first column, I'm going to minus with the average. So I'm taking 20 minus 28.75, and that would get me negative 8.75. I would do step 2 and step 3 at the same time, because that way I don't have to retype the difference again. So I'm going to square it. So negative 8.75 square, that get me 76 point, I'm going to round to 2 decimal place, so that's 76.56. Okay. So that is the standard deviation with steps. I'm giving the table. I'm going to ask you to fill that out. I have some of you just give me the numbers. I cannot give you full credit. Unless it's the questions that use technology, use Google Sheet, then that's different. Okay, the next one I'm going to do for all of them, so I will take 30 minus 28.75. That will give you 1.25. If I square it, give me 1.56. Okay. The next one, 25 minus 28.75. Negative 3.75. If I square it, that gives me 14.06. To my next number, 40 minus 28.75. 11.25, and I will square it. 126.56. What I would do right now is that I'm going to turn this into student pace. For some of you who is like, Miss Nguyen, I remember what to do. Can I just do this on my own? Yes. I'm going to turn it into student pace for some of you right now. So if you know what to do, go ahead and do the practice on your own and make sure that you submit it in. You can email this to me, or you can save the document and you can email it to me. Or if you did on Pear Deck, I can just look at Pear Deck and know what you do. If you do it on a piece of paper, email it to me so I can check in. All right. So right now it's in student pace. You can move back and forth and do the work that you need to do. Okay, so that is step 3. I raise step 2. Whatever I get in step 2, I raise that to the second power. Step 4, when I get to step 4, basically I'm just adding, basically I'm adding all of these numbers together. So step 4 is the total. So this is the total from step 3. So I'm going to add all of them together. So I have 126.56 plus 14.06 plus 1.56, 76.56. So that gives me 218.74. Then I would get to step 5. Step 5 is whatever I get in step, whatever that I get in step number 4, 218.74 divided by n, which is, I have 4, so I divide by 4. That's what give me 54.69. And then the last step, what I would do is I'm just take the square root, 56.69. That would give me square root of 56.69, 7.53. And that is the answer. Okay. So that's standard deviation by steps. All of these steps is listed for you. If you take notes, you have the step in front of you. Just follow them. Do not rush. You have more than enough time to do it on the day of the exam. You have 2 days to take it. I will turn every objective on for you, and you can do as much as you can, and then you can come back the next day to finish it if you don't get to finish. So do not rush. Do not try to do the shortcut when you don't feel comfortable. Like, do step by step. Okay. Questions from there. Okay. So for the space that we have, so here, so this is the calculated steps in slide 14 if you want to look at it. This is the command for the Google Sheet. If you lost it somewhere, here's the command. And then we'll look at quartile. This is the last part. And because when I typed it up, I should be able to type a bunch of numbers, but when I write, I notice my handwriting is really big. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to cross out 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11. I'm going to cross out these numbers, just so that I have enough space to write. But on the test, don't just cross out numbers, okay? So for me, I just want to use this list. So step number 1, I'm going to rearrange this from least to greatest. So I have 8, then I have 10, then I have 12, 15, 19, then 20. There's another 20. Then I have 25, then 30. There's 230. And then 55. Okay. So step number 1, I rearrange from least to greatest. Step 2, I'm going to find the medians, the number in the middle. So these are quartiles, Q1, Q2, and Q3. Okay. So the number in the middle, when I highlight this, I just kind of help me to kind of know what number that I should stop. Okay. So the number in the middle is 20. When I find that, I split this into 2 equal parts. This is the lower half and the upper half. So what I would do, I'm going to find the median again. In this case, I know my median is this number, 12, and the median for this one is 30. So basically, you keep finding medians. So this is Q1, this is Q2, and this is Q3. Q1 is like 1/4, so this is 25% of the population. Q2, there's 2 quarters. Think about that way, if that helped you to remember. That's 50%. And Q3 is like, there's 3 quarters, so that's 75 cents, or 75% of the population have that. So 25% of the population score or have 12 or less. 50% of the population have 20 or less. 75% of the population have 30 or less. Okay. Question for me on quartiles. And what you do is a box of whisker plot is, once you have this one, you can do it. You can plot it. You have the minimum, you have the maximum. We already have the minimum, which is 8, the maximum, which is 55. And then Q1, Q2, and Q3 is the 3 number in the middle. And then you make a box. So that's a box and whisker plot. So I'm going to use this number right here. So 30. 30 is higher than half a little bit. And then 20. And then I have 12. So I can split this into, I will label this one 12, 20, and then 30. This is Q1, Q2, and Q3. So this is a box and whisker plot. Okay. So I'm going to pause for you to, if you need to copy down the notes, ask question. Let me know if you have any question. I'm going to pause for I'll give you time to copy this down. All right. So the next slide is the Google Sheet command for you. If you want to find the minimum Q1, Q2, and Q3, you can type in the values and use the command that I gave you. That should give you all the information that you needed. So this is for Google Sheet. Box and whisker plot, which I just went over. So that is your practice. You can use the last slide to practice to find Q1, Q2, Q3, and graph the box and whisker plot. Okay, slide 17 is just a Google Sheet command. Will tell you exactly what you need to type in. All right.
So the box and whisker plot,